Greetings aspirants, welcome to Narayana IAS. This is Karthik Moni, I'm here for Daily News Analysis. For today's session, I have picked up 5 articles from Hindu as well as Indian Express. The first article is about India's growing dilemma in the neighborhood, and second article is about Article 370, and third article is about Article 99 of UN Charter, and fourth article is about fertilizer subsidy, and fifth article is about mining for critical minerals. Coming to the first article, we have India's growing neighborhood dilemmas. So this article itself comprehensive in nature. The points are well structured in nature, and this article and the discussions established given in the article itself, we can use it for the mains examination. We can expect some direct mains question in terms of India's relationship with the neighbors. Previously, we had a question in 2022. Do you think that BIMSTEC is a parallel organization like SAARC? What are the similarities and dissimilarities between these two, and how India's foreign policy objectives realized by forming this new organization? This was a question asked in 2022. So similarly, we can expect some similar question from the perspective of the dynamics of India's neighborhood. So that is possible, right? Coming to the context, the article itself started with the narration of India's aspirations. So here they mentioned 3 aspirations, 3 major aspirations. India wanted to become a leader of global south. Yes, it is perceptible that we are actively indulging in BRICS nations, and also we are encouraging the promotion or cooperation between the South cooperation and also global South nations, that is also there. And also India wanted to be a player to resolve the global geopolitical issues. Yes, it is perceptible even from Russia-Ukraine issue that is there, and also Israel-Palestine issue. Also, it is perceptible that India wanted itself to be a major player to resolve such issues, right? Apart from that, India wanted to be a member or wanted to be one among the major player in the multipolar world. So this is perceptible from India's aspiration for UNSC, the permanent seat, right? So these are the major aspirations. Yes, aspirations are good, but we are facing some problem, especially from the neighborhood. So one is that India is not getting enough support. Yes, South Asia is not ready to align with India, not supporting. And second aspect, India is getting opposition to attaining these aspirations. Yes, indirectly it is holding back India. Especially we can relate the recent problem of Maldives. Yes, recently elected the Maldives government wanted India to withdraw its armed forces. This can be seen that the anti-India sentiment is growing, right? So these are the challenges. So here we have to know that the geopolitics, the fundamental geopolitics of the South Asia is changing, right? So from the Indo-centric dimension to Sino-centric dimension. So here it is because of 2 reasons. One is because of the problems of India. Yes, because of the ill-conceived interventions, ill-conceived assumptions in the foreign policy of the India itself is creating some trouble, creating some scope for such fundamental change. And on the other hand, externally, China is actively working to assert its presence in South Asia. So this we have to understand in a larger point of view. So from this context, we have to know the causes, consequences, how it has to be, everything we have to understand. The article itself highlighted the New Delhi's dilemma, and they have came up with 3 different causes. So first one is rising politically anti-Indian regime in South Asia. So this is perceptible from the Maldives issue. Maldives, yes, the recently elected government is showing the anti-Indian attitude. So it can be perceptible that they wanted us to withdraw the armed forces from their land. So this is evident. Apart from that, we can also include the example of Bangladesh. So Bangladesh is also there. So the Kalidasia factor is cropping up. So next year we will be having the election. This Kalidasia factor will have an influence, and this will create anti-Indian agitation in Bangladesh. This is possible. And second one, the China, the structural problems created by the China. So as of now, the China's influence in the South Asia is increasing. So one, because of the BRI initiative and the debt trap, right? So they are actively promoting the one road initiative, and in the South Asia, we are having the economically, socially less developed countries. We have Bhutan, Nepal, Bangladesh. So they are riddled with the existing problem. So this led them to have a relationship with China. So that is there. So depth entanglement is there. So that is the first idea. Second aspect, we have to highlight that in the China's outreach is happening because of the abandonment of the international community. For example, the Russia is not actively intervening into the politics of South Asia, and also US is also a little withdrawing from the politics of South Asia. Why? Because of few reasons. Because already the region itself infested with the problems such as Taliban in Afghanistan, military rule in Myanmar, and economic crisis in Sri Lanka. Okay, the region itself facing problem, so that they are slowly withdrawing. The international community showing less interest in this region. So this gave us scope for China to intervene. So that is the idea. And apart from that, China wanted to settle the border disputes. Especially recently, the China is actively indulging to resolve the border disputes with Bhutan. So one aspect, interdependency is creating. China is creating the interdependency by BRI project and the debt entanglement, one side. And second side, they wanted to resolve the existing problems, border territorial issues. So that by doing these two, the China is establishing its presence in South Asia. So next we have to know about the three broad set of causes for India's policy dilemma in South Asia. The first dilemma is the change in the regional geopolitical architecture. The first, we have to highlight the role of United States. So United States presence is also a problem. Withdrawal is also a problem. Presence is problem because it can influence Pakistan against India, so that it will be disadvantage for India. So presence is also a problem. Its departure is also a problem because the departure of United States will create a vacuum that will be occupied by the China. So China's rise is possible because of the withdrawal of US from the South Asia. So here United States is acting as a geopolitical constant in the South Asian political dynamics, right? So that is the first aspect. And also China is becoming a geopolitical buffer. So the smaller nations are using China as a factor to get the benefits from India. So China is now becoming a geopolitical buffer. Here they are using, the smaller nations are using China card to get the strategic autonomy from the interventions of India. So this is perceptible from the Nepal's reflection that they don't want India to intervene into the domestic politics. And apart from that, South Asia is one of the least connected region, and also it is poor in nature. The poverty itself pushes the smaller nations to tilt towards China. So that is there. So this is perceptible from the initiatives such as China's BRI projects and also string of pearl projects. And apart from that, the problem of India's normative approach. So here, India is proposing the norms. For example, in order to have a relationship, India will come up with the norms such as, okay, mutual dependence should be there, reciprocation should be there, democracy should be there. So they are coming with the India's foreign policy. It is approaching these smaller states with some conditionalities. But this was not the case with the China, that they are not at all proposing such demands, so that this ill-conceived intervention by the India is also allowing or pushing such smaller nations towards China. Coming to the second dilemma, India's approach with the domestic players is a little concerned in nature. They wanted to follow the status quo approach. So traditionally, India used to have a peaceful relationship with one party or few leaders. For example, when we take the case of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, right? So India is having a peaceful or comfortable relationship with Sheikh Hasina, but not the same with the Kalidasian, right? So this is there. Similarly, in the Myanmar also, we are having a peaceful relationship with the democratically elected government, not with the military junta, right? So this difference is there. Traditionally, we are following this practice, and now also we are trying to follow the same. So we are following this status quo, but this is problematic in nature because the opposition party or other party will create anti-India sentiments. So that is possible. So here we want multiplicity of the actor. India's approach towards such intervention has to be changed, that they have to acknowledge the multiplicity of the actors. Coming to the third dilemma, there are two mistaken assumptions from the India's foreign policy. The first one is strong belief of South Asia minus Pakistan approach, right? India is strongly believing that if you are excluding Pakistan factor from the South Asia, and if you are trying to intervene or trying to ensure the collaboration between the nations, then we can able to imagine the better outcome. So this is what the assumption from India, but this is wrong. And the interventions made from this approach is failure in nature. For example, we can take the example of BIMSTEC. So India saw BIMSTEC as an alternative to the SAARC cooperation, but actual outcome from the BIMSTEC is very limited. We are not able to materialize any project similar to the SAARC outcome, that is BBIN network. So such outcome was not there from the BIMSTEC. So that is the first assumption. Second assumption, that the possibility of having a cultural connect is highly useful. Yes, India is culturally rooted with Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, and also we are having a historical connection with Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. Everything is there. This specific relationship, India is seeing it in such a way that it is positive in nature, but it is actually causing a liability to the India. For example, this will increases the India's pressure in terms of refugee, in terms of migration, in terms of dependence. Instead of working in a positive manner, it is working in a negative manner. So these are the two mistaken assumptions made by India. So this is the third dilemma. So now we have to think from the perspective of what has to be done to address this problem. The first thing is accepting the reality. So as of now, the South Asia, the geopolitics of South Asia is changed in a larger point of view. So it is not the old South Asia. The fundamental geopolitics has changed in a drastic manner, right? So it is not South Asia. It is Southern Asia, which means China as a periphery nation of South Asia is also included into the geopolitics of South Asia. India have to accept this as a reality and wanted to frame a real functioning pragmatic policy. So next, India wanted to involve with friendly external actors in the regions. Example, US is there, France is there. So in this aspect, it will reduce the Sino-centric dimension of the region. And apart from that, Indian diplomacy should be flexible to engage with the multiple actors, especially when it comes to the Bangladesh and also when it comes to the Maldives, because instead of hating the anti-India sentiments, India wanted to work to lessen or reduce such anti-India sentiments. So that should be a possible approach, right? And finally, India wanted to increase its strength of diplomats to pursue the international relations. As of now, India is having only 845 diplomats, that is 1 for 1.4 million residents, which is comparatively low when compared to the US. It is around 20,000 diplomats. So which means India is in need of resources to pursue its foreign policy in an effective manner. Next, we have an article, No Faith Accompli. This article was taken from the Hindu editorial. So exam point of view, we can expect some question related to Article 370 in the prelims examination, and also in the mains examination, we can expect some questions related to the issues surrounding the abrogation of Article 370. So that is possible. Coming to the context, the Supreme Court of India, in the case related to Article 370, the Apex Court will give the judgments on Monday. So that is the context of this article. From this context, we have to know the procedure followed for the abrogation, and also we have to know about the positive aspects of abrogating Article 370 and the negative aspect in abrogating the 370. So those things we have to know, right? So coming to the basic details of Article 370. So it is a temporary provision in the Indian Constitution. So it gave three different content. So one is the relation between Jammu and Kashmir and center. Second one is regarding the institutions and its functioning. And third one is about special rights, right? So these are the three things which we have to know. First one, with respect to the relationship between the Jammu and Kashmir and center, there is a limited applicability of the central law, right? So only the defense, foreign affairs, communication and finance, those legislations on these four areas will be applicable. Rest all has to be decided by the state government's legislature, right? For that we have a separate constitution. This 370 allows Jammu and Kashmir to have a separate constitution, right? So that is there. And also special privilege, special rights to the permanent residents, that too on property, ownership, settlement and government job. So apart from that, along with national flag and anthem, so the state is also having the flag and the anthem, right? So now the chronology of events related to the abrogation of 370. The first one is presidential order, president. So executive action. So on August 5, 2019, the presidential order declared that the class 1 of Article 370 is as inoperative with the immediate effect. So they came up with the executive order to make the 370 inoperative, right? Second, they made a legislative action, that is, they made a constitutional resolution in the legislature. The legislature abrogated the Article 370 and also reorganized the Jammu and Kashmir into two union territories, that is Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, right? Apart from that, the governor's recommendation was given to the president, that is there, and also then the president's proclamation came to issue the under Article 3 to split the state into two. And finally, the legislation was made in 2019 for the formation of two union territories. So through the executive proclamation, the 370, the class 1 of 370 becomes inoperative. Then they took it to a legislature. Then the actual abrogation was done. And apart from that, they came up with the idea of splitting the state into two union territories, right, by using the presidential order. And finally, the act was made in 2019 to make it legal, right? So one thing we have to consider, there is no amendment happened. There is no amendment was made to abrogate the Article 370. That is one thing. And second thing, we have to think from the perspective of consensus, right? This abrogation was not done with the consensus of the state legislature, because it becomes, the state legislature become inoperative, the governor rule was made, and then the governor took the responsibility to make the article inoperative, right? The consensus was not made, right? So those things we have to consider. So no amendment, no consensus. So now we have to think from the perspective of positive outcomes. So increase in investment was there, and also improved governance and transparency was there, and also RT Act has been fully extended to the Jammu and Kashmir, and then increased the integration with India was there, right? So physical integration, yes, physical integration was there, because there is a movement of people and goods increased to 30%, physical integration, and also economic integration was there, and economic development was there, right? So there is the FDI inflow increased by 270% since 2019. And also we have to consider that extension of important legislation to ensure the rights is also possible. Yes, RTI. And finally, there is an increased governance and transparency was there. So implemented various anti-corruption measures, including digitalization of public services and strict regulations was there. So these are the positive outcomes of abrogating 370. And negative aspects, there is a increased feeling of alienation because this decision making was not done with the consensus with the legislature, which means the people felt that the activists in the state felt that they are getting alienated while doing the decision. So that is the first idea, and because of this the increased demonstration happened, protest and demonstration cropped up in the state, and also it is perceptible that the level of political participation in the Kashmir is comparatively low. Because of that, political instability and unrest is happening, right? Alienation, protest and demonstration, low political participation, which means political instability is there, right? And finally, human rights violation. So, as per the Amnesty International report and the United Nations Human Rights Office, it expressed the concern that the country, the central government is using huge force to suppress the protest and demonstration. So human rights violation is there. So now from the way forward point of view, so reinstating the statehood is very much important because legislature, we have to bring the legislature, normal that separation of power has to be there. So because already we had a legislature, having the legislature will have the democratic process, will increase the participation of the people will be there, political trust will be there, so that we have to reinstate the Jammu and Kashmir back to the statehood. And second aspect, we have to initiate the dialogue with all the stakeholders. Yes, consensus has to be made. So political settlement has to be made. So all the political leaders and civil society groups and the youth has to be called for the peaceful settlement. And finally, we have to focus on economic development in increasing the investment in infrastructure projects, incentivizing the private sector investments, and also we have to create employment opportunities, because economic development will lead to the social development, will reduce the political unrest, so that we can able to achieve the political stability in the Jammu and Kashmir. Coming to the next, we have an article titled Article 99 of UN Charter. Exam point of view, we have to know about the institution, that is UNSC, and its voting provisions. So we can expect some exclusive question in the prelims examination as well, and also mains examination also it is very much important, right? Apart from that, idea about the UN Charter is also important to understand the institutions better, right? So this is the relevance of this article. So we already had a previous year question in 2015. So they wanted us to know the impediments for India in securing the permanent seat in UNSC. So till India is getting membership in the UNSC, permanent membership in the UNSC, we can expect similar question in the upcoming examination as well. So that's why we are discussing this article. Coming to the context, recently United Nations General Secretary has invoked Article 99 of UN Charter to call ceasefire on Israel-Gaza conflict. So in the October months, we experienced the problem of, it started the problem of conflict between Israel and Hamas. So because of this conflict, there is a huge humanitarian crisis. So in order to stop such humanitarian crisis, now UN General Assembly's Secretary General invoked its power to bring ceasefire for the conflict. So now we have to know about the idea of UN Charter. So it is a foundational document. Yes, like Constitution in India or any other nation, it is a foundational document to guide or to outline the goals, principles and structures. Yes, in the United Nations as an institution, we have several sub-institutions. We have Security Council, we have General Assembly, and many other institutions are there. So what are the institutions? What are the mandates? Or what are the responsibilities? Those details will be given by the fundamental document, foundational document, that is UN Charter. So this understanding is enough for the exam point of view. And apart from that, there are two more facts. So it came into force in 1945, and also it is having 19 chapters and 111 articles. So next we have to know about the basic principles given or highlighted in the UN Charter. So we have 6 principles: sovereign equality, good faith in fulfilling the obligations under the Charter, and also peaceful settlement of the disputes, and non-use of force or threats, and respecting the international law, and respect for human rights and fundamental freedom. Right? These are very much important. So for example, when we take the example for the case of sovereign equality, there is a huge imbalance of the power. So imbalance of power is there, right? For example, some nations are economically, military wise or technology wise, it is developed in nature, and on the other hand, like poor nations are also there. This imbalance, there is a possibility that the major nations can intervene into the developing or less developed nations. So in order to ensure the sovereignty, we need such institutions, right? So that is the fundamental guiding principle. And second most important principle is non-use of force or threat of force. So this is very much important, because so use of force will have an impact on humanity as well as the entire environment as well. So this has to be prevented. And next we have to come up with the idea that peaceful settlement of disputes. So we can't remove the conflicts entirely. Conflicts will be there, but we have to find a ways, we have to find a means for the peaceful resolution. So this is the third important principle. And also we have good faith in fulfilling the obligations under the Charter. So we have global problems like developmental issues are there, climate related issues are there. So for that we need consensus and collaboration. For implementing, for intervening into the such global problems, we need cooperation. So that is there. And finally, respect for international law and respect for human rights is very much important, because there is a possibilities that these two aspects, that is respecting the international law or respecting the human rights, can be breached by the nations for their expectations. For that, we need such institutions, we need such foundational document to implement these aspirations, right? Now we have to know about the Article 99 of the UN Charter. So it says that the Secretary General may bring to the attention of the Security Council any matter in which his opinion may threaten the maintenance of international peace and security. Here, this provision empowers the Secretary General of UNGA to bring the notice of any issue which undermines the peace and harmony of the peaceful existence to the UNSC. Why UNSC? Because UNSC is the only institution which is having the authority to have a binding resolutions. For example, for enforcing the international law, for intervening through military action, or putting economical sanctions. So only United Nations Security Council is having the authority to give such binding resolutions. So that's why here we are having an article, separate class, giving a power or giving a mandate to the Secretary General to bring the problem to the notice of UNSC, right? Now we have to know about when this Article 99 was invoked. So previously only 2 occasions, in 1960 when there is a problem in Congo, so that is there, and after that in 1961 when there is a huge humanitarian crisis in Tunisia. So in only 2 occasions this Article 99 was invoked. So now we have to know the reason why now this Article 99 was invoked. So currently we are facing huge trouble in terms of human casualties, and also physical destructions of property is also happening. And also when it comes to the number, around 15,000 people, which means 40% of the children's being killed of this Israel-Hamas conflict. Mortality is also high, and also civilian population is getting affected, and especially women and children are getting killed because of this conflict. So the problem is very high, the humanitarian crisis is very high. That's why after long time, this article was invoked, right? Now we have to know about the course. What will be the course of action we can expect? So for the resolution, we need 9 votes in favor and no veto by the 5 permanent members. That is USA, Russia, China, France and Britain is needed. But as of now, there is a divided opinion between the nations. For example, US and UK on one side, they wanted to support the Israel. And also on the other side, Russia and China is divided on the other side. So tussle between the major powers is also a problem in bringing resolutions to take interventions against such humanitarian crisis. Next, we have an article, Form Do's and Don'ts. This article I have taken from the Indian Express editorial page. So exam point of view, we can expect some questions related to the fertilizer supply crisis due to the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war, and also use-based fertilizer crisis due to the overuse of fertilizer, and also the fertilizer input subsidy. So these are the areas we can expect questions in the mains examination, that is possible. Apart from that, we can expect some questions related to the Essential Commodity Act, and also we can expect some questions related to the nutrition-based subsidy. Those aspects also possible in the prelims examination. In the previous year, there was a question in 2013 in the mains examination. What are the different types of agricultural subsidies given to the farmers at the national and the state level? Critically analyze the agricultural subsidy regime with reference to the distortions created by it. So this question is directly related to this topic, right? So we can also expect similar question in the upcoming examination. So that's why we are discussing this article. From 2019-20, the fertilizer subsidy of the center is constantly increasing, and it is creating the impact on the financial equations of the center, and it is showing, and it is becoming in such a way that it is financially unsustainable in nature, right? So that is the first context. And also, the higher the subsidies, the increase in subsidy will increases the demand for the fertilizer, and because of that, overuse of fertilizer is also there, and because of the overutilization of the fertilizer, it is having the environmental impacts. And apart from that, the article is highlighting that because of the Russian-Ukraine war, the supply side constraint is here. The supply or import of fertilizer is getting affected. Yes, because of the Ukraine-Russia war, the import of food grains is getting affected, fuel import is getting affected, even the fertilizer import is also getting affected, right? So here, the supply is getting affected. Yes, already the farmers are used to it, they wanted more fertilizer. Now, the demand supply mismatch is there because of this current crisis, right? So one aspect, it is not financially sustainable in nature. Second aspect, overuse. Third aspect, environmental concern. Fourth aspect, supply chain disruption because of the global events. So these are the collective events or collective context of this article. From this article, we have to know the reason why we are facing problem, how it is impacting, how the policy aspirations will lead to the environmental consequences that we have to know, right? So conceptual background. So fertilization as a practice is very important. In order to increase the productivity of the plant, the use of fertilizer is very important. This practice has become common, become very important, become very significant after the Green Revolution. So chemical fertilizer, so we have two different set of fertilizer, macronutrients, micronutrients. So we have nitrogen, phosphorus and potash under macronutrients. Under micronutrients, we have zinc, manganese, copper, iron, aluminum and many other small elements also there. So science point of view, we have to know what is meant by macronutrients, what is meant by micronutrient, what are they and how many in total is there, that we have to know, right? So this is from the chemical fertilizer point of view. So when it comes to the utilization point of view, 3 fertilizer, urea, diammonium phosphate and muriate of potash. that is urea for nitrogen, and then DAP for phosphate, and then MOP for potash. So NPK. So utility point of view, these three fertilizers are very much important, that too concentrating on the macronutrients, right? So, and apart from that, we have to know that optimal ratio of consumption of these major fertilizers is around 4:2:1. If you are using 40 kg of urea, so we have to use only the 20 kg of DAP, and then we have to use 10 kg of MOP. So this should be the ratio. This should be the proportion for the optimum utilization of such fertilizer for the plant intake. If the ratio is getting disturbed, this means it is going to affect the soil. In this aspect, it will become a toxin to the soil, right? It will not be environmentally sustainable in nature. So that is the problem. So it led to the local disturbance in the local soil condition. So now we have to know about the policy point of view. So here the government is using combination of methods such as movement control, price control, and import control. By using these three methods, they wanted to regulate the physical access, and also they wanted to regulate the economic access. So physical access is controlling the movement. So by controlling the movement, they can able to regulate the physical access, that is possible. And then by controlling the import, they can able to regulate the physical access. And by controlling the price control, they can regulate the economic access, right? So these two are there. So this is the policy dimension of the control of access to the fertilizers. Now apart from that, because of this policy measures, we are facing a unique pattern of utilization, that is urea is most produced and most consumed and most important. So policy, because of the implications of the policy, because of the way it is designed, it is having an implication in the fertilizer usage, production, consumption. So urea is most produced, most consumed, and most imported. So this is from the policy perspective. So now we have to know about the nuanced detail about this policy control. So first, in 2010, the prices of the fertilizers other than urea was decontrolled. So previously, all three, urea, DAP, MOP, all three, the prices will be defined by the government. So it will be fixed by the government. So the production cost, the difference in the production cost will be paid to the company or the producers directly by the government. So that is the case. So after that, in the same year, the government came up with the new scheme called nutrient-based subsidy, right? So in that, the urea was not the part of the scheme, but all other MOP and DAP was there. So here what they'll do, the company will produce the fertilizer and it will sell in the actual price, MRP will be there. But the government will give subsidy for fixed amount, okay, 100 rupees, 200 rupees. They'll give some fixed amount as a subsidy. So because of this reason, okay, urea still controlled, still the price is controlled, whereas in the case of other subsidies, the government is giving the subsidy, right? So we have to know the difference between these two. So that is the idea. So here, because of this difference, so there is a huge rise in the price differential between urea and other fertilizers, right? So now because of this difference in prices, urea is cheap, other MOP and DAP becomes costly, and because of that, it will create increase in demand for the urea. So increase in demands, and because of that, overuse of urea will be there. So in this aspect, the policy influenced the consumption pattern of the fertilizer. Look at the number. The ratio of the consumption, it worsened to 8:3:1, the highest application of the fertilizers in the world. So the proportion is getting disturbed. So this is the number. So it is the worst proportion when compared to the global nations. India is using the very worst proportion of using urea. So that is problem. So because of this irrational use of urea, we are facing the problem of diminishing crop yield and also increased soil toxicity. So production will get affected and also soil quality will also get affected. Here production will be affected because the quality of the soil is very much important to sustain the production. The long term aspect, degrading the quality of the soil will affect the productivity. Finally, it will result in the production of the food grains. So coming to the way forward, the urea has to be put under the nutrient based subsidy regime, so that it has to decontrol its MRP, and also we have to provide the subsidies based on the ratio of macronutrients. That is, we have to follow that 4:2:1 ratio. The subsidy has to be given in this aspect only. And also second step is that we have to consider other parameters such as subsidy on per hectare basis, and also the crop specific, soil specific and agroclimatic region specific policy should be needed. So we should not encourage the generic policy. We have to break down the policy to such an extent. We have to consider the other factors into the picture for the effective policy. Coming to the next article, we have mining for critical minerals. What is the auction process and why is it important? So exam point of view, we can expect some direct prelims question from critical minerals, and also we have to know about the mineral security partnership from the prelims point of view as well as mains point of view, and also we have to know about India's intervention, that is India-Australia Critical Minerals Investment Partnership, right? We also had a previous year question. Recently there has been a concerns over the short supply of group of elements called rare earth metals, and they wanted us to know why, right? So these are application oriented factual details regarding the supply of rare earth metals. So in the upcoming examination, we can expect some similar question in the aspects of critical minerals, that is also possible. Also we can expect some questions related to the rare earth metal is also possible, right? That's why we are discussing this article. Coming to the context, recently the Ministry of Mines came up with the first tranche of auction, which involves the 20 blocks of critical minerals across 7 states and 1 union territory, right? This is the context of this article. So here, exam point of view, we have to know about the minerals and its distribution. So lithium, Jammu and Kashmir, Chhattisgarh; copper, Odisha; molybdenum from Tamil Nadu; nickel from Bihar, Gujarat and Odisha; graphite is from Odisha; and a rare earth metal from Chhattisgarh, important, Chhattisgarh; and titanium from Jammu and Kashmir. This is also important, and lithium also important because it is very useful for e-vehicles. So lithium, Jammu and Kashmir and Chhattisgarh. So now we have to know about the critical minerals. So generic definition: critical minerals are those which are essential for economic development and national security. So here we have to know about the problems. Difficulty to produce and explore because availability is low, concentration in the existence, and extraction or processing in few geographical locations. So these are the some characteristic features of mining the critical minerals. So there is a possibility that we can have one prelims question in this aspect, that is possible. So here demand is high, supply is facing difficulty, right? Because of this demand and supply mismatch, this becomes crucial. These minerals becomes important, right? So now we have to know about the difference between rare earth metal versus critical minerals. So rare earth metals are a specific group of metals which is having a high useful category. It is more significant within the critical mineral group itself. So here we have 17 metallic elements. This includes 15 lanthanides and also scandium and yttrium. So 15 plus scandium and yttrium. So these 17 minerals or metals is what we call it as rare earth metals. So we have to know the clear distinction between critical minerals and rare earth metal. So critical mineral is a comprehensive term. So it is known for economic and strategic significance. Within this critical minerals, we are having a subclassification called rare earth metals, which includes 15 lanthanide metals, and scandium and yttrium. So now India's major import sources, we don't want to remember all those facts, but I just want you to bring some perspectives. So for 15 critical minerals, so here lithium is very important, and also we have to know the percentage of import. So see, around 10 major critical elements we are importing, completely importing from the foreign nations. Complete import, which means completely dependent on foreign nations, which means we have to work or we have to invest more on increasing or improving the domestic capacity. That is one insight. Second is China factor. Right? In most of the cases, we can able to find the dominance of China. Most of the cases, right? Which means the dependency of India on China for such critical minerals will become significant. So that is the second interpretation that I want to highlight. And also lithium, we are depending on foreign nations 10%. So that we have to know. So these are the three insights we have to know from this table. Coming to the significance point of view, so towards energy transition, so currently India and the global nations is aspiring for the climate interventions, and especially for India, we are aspiring to become a net zero emission by 2017. For that, critical minerals are very much important, because the electric vehicle dependence on critical minerals, especially lithium battery, is there. So for that, we have to be self-sufficient in producing the lithium. So that is there. And second aspect, in the sectors such as information and communication technologies, and also semiconductor industries, highly dependent on these rare earth metals and critical minerals. And apart from that, defense establishments and the areas of creating permanent magnets and ceramics, these critical minerals are highly significant. So strategic point of view, for critical technologies such as semiconductor industry and also e-vehicle industry and also information communication industry, these critical minerals are very much important. So that's why these are highly significant in nature, right? So connecting with these three sectors, the aspirations also bigger, right? Climate intervention, net zero emission, and also economic development through technology. So those aspirations are bigger. So that's why these minerals are getting more significance, right? Steps taken by India. So India classified the minerals. They listed 30 critical minerals which are priority for India by 2023. And also India amended the existing legislation, came up with a new legislation, that is Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Amendment Bill. So by bringing this amendment, the legislature wanted to improve the mining and auction capacity of such critical minerals. Apart from that, we have to know about the collaborations. So Mineral Security Partnership, India has recently been inducted into this partnership. It is a US-led collaboration of 14 countries. The aim of such collaboration is to catalyze public and private investments in crucial critical mineral supply chains globally, right? So we have to strengthen the global supply chain on critical minerals, because China factor. China is dominating the critical minerals production as well as supply aspect. China is dominating. So US wanted to strengthen the supply chain of critical minerals for itself. So it came up with a new initiative called Mineral Security Partnership. So India is also getting benefited, right? So that we have to know. So apart from that, try to know the member nations. So China is not the part. So logically we can exclude China from this membership. And apart from that, we have to know about other initiatives such as India-Australia Critical Mineral Investment Partnership. So it will help India to build new supply chain for critical minerals. So it is highly important, because supply of lithium will be there, so that India can achieve its e-vehicle aspirations and also climate interventions because of having this India-Australia critical mineral investment partnership. Now let's try some of the prelims practice questions. First question, consider the following statements. Urea is the most controlled, most regulated, consumed and imported fertilizer in India. Yes, it is true. The nutrient-based subsidy scheme was introduced in India in 2010. This statement is also correct. So, which of the above statement are correct? Both the statements are correct. So, option is C. Yes, answer is C. So, second question, consider the following statements. The UN Charter can only be amended by 2/3 of the members of the United Nations General Assembly, including all permanent members of the Security Council. According to the UN Charter, the strength of the Security Council is 15, including P5 members. Yes, both the statements are correct. Third statement, the resolution brought by the Secretary General under Article 99 of the UN Charter is binding on UN Security Council. No, it is not. So, nothing is binding for the UNSC. So, that is wrong. So, the first statement as well as the second statement is correct. So, choose the correct statement. So, option is Bombay, only 1 and 2. Yes, answer is right, Bombay. Third question, with reference to the Mineral Security Partnership, consider the following statements. It is a US-led collaboration. Yes, it is true. Of 14 countries, that is also true. Aim to catalyze public and private investment in critical mineral supply chain globally. Yes, it is true. First statement is correct. India is a member of this grouping. Yes, it is also true. So, both the statements are correct. So, select the correct answer from the options given below. So, option is C, both 1 and 2. Yes, answer is right. So, last practice question. What was the purpose of Article 370? To provide autonomy to the Jammu and Kashmir. Yes, it is right. To allow Jammu and Kashmir to have its own constitution, flag and anthem. Yes, it is also true. To give special rights to the permanent residents of the Jammu and Kashmir. Yes, it is also right. So, option is Delhi. Yes, answer is right. It is Delhi. So, next question. Consider the following statements about the BIMSTEC. So, first statement, it is a regional organization comprising 5 member states. No, it is not 5. It is 7 member states. So, it is in the name itself we came to know that B is known for Bangladesh, I for India, M for Myanmar, S for Sri Lanka and T for Thailand. And apart from that, Bhutan and Nepal are members of BIMSTEC. So, first statement is wrong. Second statement, this came into existence on 6th June 1995. This is wrong. It is 1997. And third statement, BIMSTEC Secretariat is in Kathmandu, Nepal. No, this is also wrong because initially 5 nations was there. Nepal and Bhutan was added later. So, logically, the headquarters should be in the original 5 nations. So, actually it is in Dhaka, Bangladesh. So, this statement is also wrong. So, choose the correct option from the following. So, all 3 are wrong. So, option is Delhi. Yes, answer is correct. It is Delhi. Now, let's try one mains question. India's global ambitions will materialize only if its influence in the neighboring countries. We have to know about the ambitions and also why we have to relate it with the neighboring countries. So, this we have to bring it out. So, they wanted us to do the critical analysis about the factors that holds India back in the backyard, particularly in the context of Chinese intrusion in South Asia. So, the question is very clear. So, here we have to bring the India's aspirations and also why India is aspiring, why the importance of South Asia or the neighbors are important, and also we have to bring the idea that's how it is affecting India. Coming to the approach, in the introduction itself, we have to start with the India's ambitions. Yes, India's aspiration to become a leader of Global South, India's aspiration to be a major partner in resolving the global geopolitical issues, and also we have to highlight India's aspiration to become a major pole in the multipolar world, right? In the body part, we have to give the idea that why the relation between the neighbors are very much important, that we have to highlight. So, here we can mention that India is aspiring for UNSC seat. For that, neighbors' support is very much important, because Pakistan is playing as a negative factor, and also similarly the less cooperation between the neighbor is affecting India's UNSC aspiration. Apart from that, economic integration will give added boost, and also it will give the peaceful relationship between the neighbors, will help India to tackle the problem of terrorism and the problem of political instability, right? Apart from that, we have to know that the factors that are pulling India behind: a rise of politically anti-Indian regimes in the South Asia. We have to quote the example of Maldives and then Bangladesh, and also we have to quote the structural problem, that is the increased presence of China through BRI initiative, through debt entanglements. So those things are there. And apart from that, China is also actively engaging to resolve the border issues with the smaller players. And also we have to highlight the diminishing US presence. The withdrawal of the US is also creating impact for the increased presence of China, that we have to highlight. And finally, the problems with the India's normative approach. The conditionalities approach or conditionalities associated with the India's foreign policy is turning against the India itself. That also we have to highlight. So in the conclusion, we have to tell them that accepting the reality, that changing dynamics of the South Asia has to be accepted, so that then only India can make a practical, pragmatic, realistic policy. That is very much important. And also we have to fix the existing problem from the India's end, that is approaching towards multi-stakeholder approach, that removing the status quo in approaching one political party or only few leaders, that has to be removed. And also India have to increase the number of diplomatic strength, effective implementation of foreign policy. That we can add it as a conclusion, as a way forward at the end. That's the end of the discussion. Thank you all. Do like, share and comment the video, and don't forget to subscribe the channel. Thanks for watching.